What if the decision you make today still matters, but a year from now, you wish you would have asked a smarter question? Imagine having a team that trusts every single move you make, even when disruption never lets up. Here's a tip. For your next big meeting, don't ask, "What's the quick fix?" Instead, ask, "What will make sense a year from now?" Would you like to lead from reactive to resilient? Stay with me. In this episode, I'm going to give you 4 powerful questions you can use starting today. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to today's episode. As a leader and a business owner, we face unending challenges every single day, whether they come in the form of delays, changing customer demands, or high turnover. And our natural instincts are to narrow our focus, but that is going to be a trap for short-term thinking. The Harvard Business Review recently released 4 questions that they suggest leaders ask in times of uncertainty. So today, I'm going to apply some practical applications from my 2 decades of experience building teams from 5 to 500 so you can expand your thinking, strengthen your culture, and lead with confidence. So let's get into question number 1. Question number 1 they asked was, what decision today will still make sense a year from now? And this question really forces us to move into a strategic mindset, and it reduces that short-term thinking. And for applications here, I got to journaling about, what are some practical applications? I was a strategic planner for over 4 years, working at a big organization, planning. I had 7 different lines of business that we had to meet their demands. So I understand changing or competing customer demands. So what we used to do as a leadership group was we would block some time for these strategic huddles. You can do them weekly, you can do them bi-monthly or monthly. I would at least stay monthly, but with these, what we would do is we would evaluate that strategic plan and we would ask ourselves, are the business activities, the day-to-day things that we're doing, are they going to matter 12 months from now? And that kept everybody from thinking too narrowly. We always want to get into the tactical. That's where we're comfortable with. So it was difficult to get people to think strategically and break down your time. Exercise I always ran people through was evaluate your time in a week. How much time do you spend in the day-to-day operations? And then how much time do you spend thinking strategically? You should have at least 30% of your time that you are spending thinking strategically. If you are stuck in the day-to-day, if you're swamped by the day-to-day and you don't think ahead, you're going to continue to dig yourself deeper and deeper into whatever hole that you're trying to get out of. So spend some time with these strategic huddles. Another exercise that we used to do was value alignment. So every organization, every business that I've ever worked with, we sat down and we identified our values. And why did we do that? It was important because the decisions that we would make as an organization, as a leadership group or a business owner needed to align with those values. So we would rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1, they don't meet the values. 5, they align perfectly with the values. And then after all that was done, we would wash out. We would only focus on the 4s and the 5s. Those were the things that we wanted to do because they more closely aligned with our values. They were easier to fit into the strategic plan of the organization. And that really helped answer the question and made sure that the decisions we made today would still matter a year from now. Great ways to address that question. Let's get into question number 2 that they propose. Question number 2 was, if this decision becomes a case study in leadership, what would it teach? This is a pretty powerful question that they present here because 1, this tests the message that we are sending, we are communicating, and asks, are we leading by example? And it's hard to turn that camera around to look in that mirror as a business owner or a leader of an organization to say, okay, if I were on the opposite side of this decision-making process, What would it teach me? How would I perceive the decision that was made? And some really, really good strategies here that we would implement and I would lead groups through is this narrative mapping. So some really good strategies that I would lead groups through were narrative mappings. And after a big decision was made, we would sit down and we would write a paragraph and we would break it down into context, action, and result. So give a brief description. What was the decision about? What was the situation? What was the particular action that your organization, your team, or you took as a leader? And then a tangible result. Quantify that result. And we would put that into a mapping. We could also use this for a performance plan, but most of all, it was important because we would go back and look, what were the lessons learned? Was a lesson learned that this area, whatever the activity was, didn't align with our strategic plan? That may be a lesson, or it aligned perfectly and it helped us accomplish the bigger mission or vision of the organization. Very important to make sure that this narrative, and especially if you got a large organization, but it's even important for small organizations because you only have limited resources. And if your resources and the decision that you're making to expend those resources don't make sense, we got to cut our losses. There comes a point in time where we as a leader, we as a business owner have to say, we tried that, it's done, let's capture the lessons learned, and let's move on to those activities that are moving us toward the end goal. So great way to capture and to see how those things aligned. I want to take a quick break from the episode today to talk about a couple things. The first thing, less than 40% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. You would be doing me a huge favor if you click on that subscribe button. It helps us grow our Go Be Great community and get this podcast out to as many people as we possibly can. The second thing, are you a small business owner that is drowning in the day-to-day operations? You're delegating tasks and you're still doing all the work. You're experiencing a high turnover. Maybe you don't have the systems and processes in place that you need to run a successful business. I invite you to go over to thejohnespinosa.com, fill out the form to see if you're the right fit. Now back to the episode. The second one here, to answer that question of if this was a case study, what would it teach us, is the culture scorecard. And here, I used to track decisions against our core values. So again, back to those core values. Does this decision reinforce what we stand for as an organization? A great way to figure out at the end of the year, or quarterly, however, whenever you do your program reviews or you looking back at the year in review, what is your culture scorecard? How did the big decisions that you made as a leader fit and align with your values? This will ensure that you are congruent, that you are in alignment throughout the year if you do it quarterly, or at the end of the year, what does the next year look like? What do you need to start? What do you need to stop? And what do you need to continue? A great input and output for looking back and moving forward. Great activity. Question number 3 that they brought up was, what if this isn't the storm? What if it's the climate? Now this one right here, it was almost like they were reading my mind. Currently, we're going through a situation in the organization where we're seeing huge numbers of attrition. And you're seeing leaders have to lead their way out of this. And so for this, it shifts us to think about temporary fixes, which again, when we get stressed, the focus there is to narrow when we need to stay strategic and we need to make permanent decisions for the organization, not quick fixes. So for this one, I have 2 strategies I know will help you not just weather the storm, but create the climate for the organization that's going to stand the test of time. 1, what are some workarounds that you're doing right now because of maybe shorter resources, less funding, whatever the situation is? What are the workarounds that are working for the organization? Pick one and turn it into a standard operating procedure. Turn it into your climate. You've weathered the storm. You've created these workarounds. You've climbed over things. You've burrowed underneath things. You've gone around things. What is one thing? Take one thing and turn that workaround into a standard operating procedure. That solidifies what you are doing, and it creates a process and a system. So now you can start tweaking that. Changes need to be in micro, not macro, especially when there's times of uncertainty. Don't throw everything out because you never know what was working if you just implement something brand new. So make those micro changes through establishing a standard operating procedure, and this is going to help you weather that storm and survive the climate. The second application here are strategic roadmaps. I mean, this is essential. It just sometimes floors me when I go into organizations and I ask for a strategic plan and they don't have one. They're just flying by the seat of their pants. It's like, how I understand that you got into business. A lot of times entrepreneurs, they're creative minds, but that only goes so far. You can only fly by the seat of your pants for so long before that catches up with you, especially if you're experiencing high turnover and you got people, it's a revolving door. You got to train and onboard folks. You got to capture knowledge of people walking out the door, maybe taking other opportunities. And if you don't have a strategic plan, if you don't allocate budget and people for system upgrades on a yearly basis and not just have these quick fixes, you will not succeed. Your business, your organization, it will cease to exist. We cannot continue to operate on quick fixes and patches. It's like putting Band-Aids over bullet wounds. We have to take out the bullet and suture the wound and then move on and heal. So for this example, take time to allocate budget just to one thing that you are now patching with that Band-Aid. That is going, I promise, your organization, your people, your team will love you for it as the leader and the business owner of the organization. People crave direction. They want to stand behind something and for something, but if it's constantly moving, they don't know where to go. So strategic plans are an important part of not just weathering the storm, but creating a climate and a culture that people want to come work for. Question number 3, great question. Number 4, and this one I struggled with because I used to think that I needed to talk to everybody to make a decision. But the question here is, what's the cost of waiting? This reveals the hidden costs of inaction. Inaction could be a form of stagnant morale. It could come into the form of creeping debt or aging technology. Whatever that looks like for your business or for your organization, there is a cost to waiting to make a decision. So some strategies here. Opportunity cost. And when we talk about opportunity cost, for every delayed project, for every delayed decision, we would calculate the potential revenue or hours that were lost because of that delay. This would quantify the delay to be very measurable. And as an organization, if you continue to delay, as a business, if we can continue to delay, what do you think is going to happen? What are the consequences? We might miss orders or miss the opportunity to grow our businesses or our teams or take advantage of market trends. There are a lot of things that by delaying, there's cost associated to that. Even though we need to be cautious and diligent as business owners to make good decisions, there is also opportunity lost and a cost to that if we delay and we continue to kick the can down the road. So figure out what those lost opportunity costs are. And then motivation boosters ties back to the strategic plan. Set up milestones within the strategic plan where at each one of those milestones, you highlight the costs that are saved by reaching each one in acting, not delaying. Again, this quantifies why you should act and not continue to delay, or wait for 100% certainty. Go before you're ready and then measure what that looks like in the form of either lost cost, opportunity costs, or at each milestone, what costs were saved by acting and not continuing to delay. It answers the bill for that question of what the cost of waiting is. So again, the 4 questions, let's review. Question 1, what decision today will still matter a year from now? Question number 2, if this decision became a case study in leadership, what would it teach us? Question number 3, what if this isn't the storm, but if it's the climate? And then question number 4 is, what's the cost of waiting? Those 4 questions are going to allow you to expand your thinking as a business owner and a leader, strengthen your culture, and give you the ability to lead with confidence. So my challenge to you, pick one of those questions and embed it in tomorrow's meeting. I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.